Um, so we're doing Oculus development. We have Quest 2s. We'll be buying, I just put in an order for Quest 3s. We'll have Quest 3s at 370, Quest 3s down here, Quest 2s down here. Um, we're going to, um, we have Vives down here. I mean, hell, we have Magic Leaps down here. We have HoloLenses down here. Whatever you want. But I think we all just use the Oculus. Then we're all moving forward in the same way. We have the same mistakes and the same non-mistakes at the same time. To get going with the Oculus, I learned from our mistakes from last time. There's a couple of things that you need to get going. Obviously, you need to have an Oculus or the Meta or the Quest app installed. This is in your syllabus, right? So make sure that it's downloaded from the page from Meta. You probably should make a Facebook account. I have a account for this building. If you need that, let me know. I'll give you the login for that. I know people don't use Facebook. It's toxic. I don't use Facebook, folks. Yeah, Instagram is even more toxic, honestly. Um, Social media is just LinkedIn's toxic. I mean, they're all it's like I get LinkedIn holes because I'm an old person. So, anyway, but I used to have a developer account and I didn't ask and they merged. I was like, no, that's why I was trying not to use a Facebook account last week. Anyway, so you can make a blank one, whatever. So you get the Oculus app, install it. Then this thing has to be charged. I recommend all mine. I'm going to buy these link cables so they can be tethered. Again, I hate mobile development; it's super slow. Do it tethered. That way, you're utilizing the graphics card on your computer. And then in the Oculus app itself, this was something that I didn't know last week because this stuff changes every version. So we just have to keep on doing stuff. Under General, make sure you know that unknown sources are checked on. That means Unreal Engine works in there or things apps you make yourself. And then set Oculus as active. For some reason, Oculus by default is not the top of the stack. It was trying to install Steam VR for me last week. And by clicking that button, it means it can ignore Steam VR. I was like, I just deinstalled Steam. I was like, I just want Steam. But that was the button I had to check. Set Oculus as active. And then OpenXR plugin will load in Oculus by default. Therefore, you don't have to install a bunch of different software. You just have this one software that helps you look at your battery life of your things, and you calibrate your room scale and whatever. Cool. Um, so that's the main thing we've already talked about. OpenXR runtime. I'm going to start a brand new project from this class, so I'm starting from scratch, and I'll use this every week to build off of. We're using Engine 5.3, so library. You guys should already know the launcher now from the videos you've uh, been watching for the first week. And then, I mean, I haven't set up this room stuff, but we'll do it a little bit later because I'm not going to do VR at the beginning. See what it looks like. Cool. I'm 100% charged. So, by default, how do you want to start? There's tons of templates, right? Some of these templates are actually really cool. Architecture, this collaborative viewer, and the architecture collaborative viewer and the automotive design collaborative viewer are multiplayer VR by default. Just built in, it has multiplayer default for you to do like design sprints inside of VR. Super cool. These are just like built in. So complicated to reverse engineer. That's like really feature filled. But these are the kind of things that people used to pay to have developed, and now they're like just templates. That's super cool. To show you guys how you can kind of course correct from starting off the wrong way, we'll start off with a blank project. Blueprints, no C++ in this class. I wouldn't know what it was if I saw it. Desktop, we're not doing mobile development. Uh, Quality, nothing but the best for us. Uh, starter content adds in like some basic materials, some basic particle systems, some basic stuff. It is 600 megabytes. So every time you add in starter content, it's another 600 bucks. Like you see how that bloats up. You have 20 projects, then you have 20 gigabytes of starter content. So be smart about it. Maybe the first time you open the game engine, sure, include the 600 megabytes. You can always add it in later on. And then ray tracing, I already told you about my opinion of that. It's just not worth it for right now. Not for education. Um, so I'm going to call this Amusement Parks 2024. And then in class, please don't ever, on my computers at school, save anything as my project one, my project two, I will delete that as soon as I see it, give it a name that makes meaning. Otherwise, it's in the trash. This computer only has one hard drive. If I have a computer with two hard drives, I put this in the storage drive, the cold storage drive, and my engine's most of the time on the operating system drive, so it runs faster. If you have a project that you're in active development on, put everything on the C drive. You will run out of space, as space is still consideration. I'm sure in 5 years I'll be laughing at the fact we used to think of space. Like, what? You had space? Yeah, no. We had limitations on our computers. Again, 5.3, blank project. Okay, cool. Here we are. By default, we have an open world. I find this overly complicated. Let's not do an open world. Let's maybe do a new level and do a basic world. Something a little bit smaller, something more manageable, something easier on your computer. Okay, you should already know the layout of, like, if I want to hit the play button, the play button's up here. This is, I think, the default layout. If you're ever not sure about the default layout, you can always load the default layout. If you like a layout of a computer, all right, so it likes to put the content drawer. I don't like that. I like to go ahead and dock it. Um, if you find a layout you really like, go ahead and save it, and then you can always load it up. And especially if you're on a shared computer, you can go back and forth. As you already know, if I make folders, this is correlates to the hard drive. So if I say, show me this in Explorer, this is the folder where my project is, right? You can do the same thing from the launcher. It's an empty folder. Um, this config folder is actually your preferences. So in this folder are files that are actually just where your layout is of your thing. If you delete your config folder, it won't know how to reorganize it. If you save it there, that's with the config folder. Contents where your assets are, intermediate and saved. These are like where crashes go. These are very temporary files. Sometimes if you just can't get the thing to open or you're having problems, just delete those folders. It will generate them automatically. They're not important. You don't sync them when you have online projects. Cool. Your plugins. So right now we're not doing VR. We could have used a VR template, but I forgot to. Right. So you guys might be using a blank project and you download a marketplace asset. You're like, this is really awesome. I'd love to see it in VR. How do we see it in VR? Add feature. Here we go. We have these templates, and virtual reality is one of them. So anything could be a VR project by doing this, right? So you have take some clients, 100 gigabyte project, like, oh, do you want to see it in VR? Because I can just add that right there to it. Cool. The thing about the starter content, there's the 600 megabytes. It's always there available for me to install. Should I need those materials and those fires, it's always available. I could pull it from the engine. It's being stored in there. So now we're bringing in virtual reality. It's being added to the project and it's telling me I don't have these plugins, right? Again, the game engine wants to not have things turned on so that it's being as performant as possible. I say, no, we got to do these things, so let's get going, turn them on. Cool. The cool notes about this is that instead of going and finding these and even paying attention to what they are, I could just say enable and say, okay, let's restart it and let's turn them on. The things we're doing are OpenXR. We already talked about that. Eye tracking. You can do eye tracking these things now. Hand tracking. The Quest 3 does hand tracking pretty easily too. Um, Super cool. Anything else? So I'm just gonna say enable missing. It says, well, sure, you should probably restart, and I'm gonna restart. We now have a VR project. Cool. So you'll see that this project now has, well, maybe you can't see because it's really tiny. I have the content folder. The content folder is what's on my hard drive. They match, right? That they correlate. And now inside of here, I have all these other different folders. I have characters. I have weapons. So I have all these different folders that came from that template. As you add in marketplace content, because you'll see that for your homework, they'll have their own root folder. It'll say abandoned amusement park or boxing gym. Everything has its root folder, and it'll be on the left side, all the way to the left. Never move that. Always just keep that. Those are all before they can be released in the marketplace. Have a unique folder, and it'll never conflict with each other. It'll always have the root folder. Our folder is always just called assets. So as you start making things, the folder I already made when I was first starting a project was assets. Anything I want to do inside of assets will be folders like materials, maps. The words maps and levels can be used interchangeable. I Today I'll make a blueprint. Anyone know what this is called when you have a shared folder structure? This is really important for anyone who codes or design. This is called a style guide. You guys heard the term now? Maybe like writing style guide, like this has to be MLA style writing. We all agree upon these rules that we're going to work together. This game engine is designed to be worked in by 200 people at one time, simultaneously, right? And that's in my virtual production class what we do. We actually all work on one project live in class simultaneously. So we need to have some rules that so we can be good neighbors and we know where to find things, right? So there are many different style guides in the world to use. It's also one of the first things I decide on a project, and it's what I get hired to do sometimes as a freelance consultant and say, "Let me design your style guide and get everything set up in version control for you." I'm going to say UE5 style guide. Again, this might sound really mundane, but we start working with other people who are like, "Oh, where'd you put the thing?" Well, here's some ideas. This is a style guide by a guy named Alar. Alar is one of those bearded, neck beard, long ponytail in the basement, drinking Mountain Dew kind of guys who's really, really mean on discussion forums, but it's completely a pussycat in real person. Alar. Michael Alar. Uh, Here's his style guide. He suggests he makes a free plugin for the marketplace called Linter. And Linter is a thing that automates finding things and putting them in the right place. Try not to use plugins if you don't have to, because then you have to put the plugins in everything. But on week two, here's the style guide. So, really quickly before we get to the juicy fun bits, and I'm already behind, is uh, so things like camel case. Does everything get a capital letter, or is only the first one is lowercase and everything else is capital letter after a while? So that sounds really tedious to have these kind of rules. But the main rule of a style guide is uh, it should be the first thing. It should be that everything should look like it comes from a single person. There you go. All structure, assets, and code in Unreal Project, says Unreal 4, should be a single person contributed to it, right? So we have to decide upon it. So if your Unreal Engine's project does not have a style guide, well, if you join a project and you ask your boss or whatever, like, yeah, we're hiring a new team and well, we already have a technical director, but we need you to help out, and we don't have what's the style guide? Run away. They don't know what they're doing. They've never worked with other people before. It's their first time, and that's going to fall on you to clean up their mess, right? So you should, but if it has a style guide, you should ask them what it is first day, and then they'll provide you that document, and then you should follow it. Friends do not let friends have bad style. For this intents and purposes, you are all my friends. I will not let you have bad style. I will never give it a 5-second tutorial without using a style guide and calling things the correct things and putting them in the right folder. Cool. A team without a style guide is no team of mine. Follow that. It's a huge sign. If people are not using version control, if they're not storing things in cloud, if they're not using a style guide, then just be aware that it's going to be chaos and they've never actually done a big project, and that there are going to be things that they are not prepared for that you'll have to kind of fix, right? So certain things are important. So certain things aren't. But in general, the style guide is how do you name things. The skeletal mesh is SK underscore what the name is. Material is M underscore what the thing is. Some people like to have M before the word, so all their M's are together. But you have filters, so maybe you put the M at the back, so the alphabetized is already at the beginning. You can always filter by the thing. These are, as you get more experience, you'll have more opinions. You'll be surprised at how many opinions you'll have as style guides. Make your own style guide, right? You can start off with this one. It is a GitHub repository. You can see how it's been forked. You see how people used GitHub stuff in the story. Okay, style guide, something to look into and be aware of. All right, moving back to the game engine. So we know where everything is. We know everything layout. We're going to go back to our map, create a new one, basic, and then can I save it without doing anything to it? Yeah, I can save it. And I made a folder under assets for maps, and this would be called week 2. So the whole reason we're using VR is not because of as much about immersion. It's about interaction. It's about having this automatically. We have a thing that we can do within the world. So we're interested in interactions, and it's why I wanted you folks to be able to see like a blueprint already. A blueprint, without getting into too much effort, is how you allow for combining things together. I want this tree to be made out of a cylinder and a cone. I don't want to keep on putting a cylinder and a cone together. Well, if you put them in a blueprint, then they're always together, and then you put the blueprint in the level, right? It's a way of combining things, and it's a way of adding interactivity to the things. If I go to my blueprints folder, I'm going to create a. Actually, before I make a blueprint, I'm going to start with just some basic assets. I will go to. I'm going to hold down Control and L. Is that going to work in this level? Control and L. There you go. With Control and L, I've added a widget that controls time of day. That's already super badass, right? All right, volumetric clouds, all that kind of stuff. Great. So now it's nighttime, and now we can use what's so good about that Unreal Engine is that beautiful lights. So I have a light, right? And what's the easiest thing for me to do with a light? I don't know. Turn it off and on, right? So I want to press L for light and make light go off and on. Okay. I'm going to do my first blueprint. It's called a level blueprint. Level blueprints are for prototyping. They are for key presses. You can't do key presses in other blueprints unless you enable it. They don't want you to be typing and then trigger things, right? They try to keep them consolidated into one blueprint. That's your level blueprint, and it's for prototyping. If you do things repeatedly, then you should be making a blueprint that's repeatable, which is an actor blueprint. So I'm going to go over here to my blueprints, open up level blueprint, grid. Does anyone see a thing called begin play and event tick? That might sound familiar to you. Void setup, right? Void draw. These are the things that happen before and the thing that happens every frame, right? So this is the same thing as your P5 or whatnot. What do I want to have immediately and what do I want to have happen every frame, right? These are events. These are red. Events are things that trigger. And we're going to do a key press. A key press is also an event. It'll also be red. It's color coded. And then this pen right here is called, I see if I hover over, it says exec. It's execution. It's executing. If you've ever used any data flow, you're going to watch the data flow of things happening, right? So I'm going to make my own event, which is going to be called L. I could type in L, but there's going to be tons of things for L, right? I just right clicked in space. So I can search through, or I know maybe it's part of a keyboard, so I can say keyboard, and then now I have everything that's on my keyboard, and maybe say L, and now it's going to be at the very top, there, right? You could do key, you could do input, lots of different ways, but essentially you're saying, I want to search and find things. If I uncheck context sensitive, my game engine is 6 gigabytes of stuff. 600 of it is that starter content. Everything else is addressable right here. I can find out every single thing a game engine can do and just read this list. This is just things you could probably do in a level blueprint. If I drag off from the L, this is everything I could do with the key press of an L, right? It's context sensitive. It starts reducing that list of things I can do. So it's useful for me. Sometimes you're like, I don't see the thing it needs to be. You need to take off context sensitive because couldn't read your mind. We're doing creative coding. This is designed for games development. We're not making games usually. We're doing things that it's not really designed for. So sometimes you have to be a little bit to zhuzh it. I want to do something with a light. I can actually just drag that light into it. It also, again, context sensitive with light selected in my outliner. I can right click and then I can create a reference to the light, right? I want to do something with the light. What do I say I want to do with the light? I want to adjust its visibility, right? Visibility, toggle visibility, right? Encoding. Everything you can do with the light is here in the details panel. Everything in this list is available to blueprints. I'm just going down here and I knew that I wanted to. I don't know. I'm going to search for it. Visibility. It's visible right now. I want to toggle that check mark off and on by dragging off here this light. There's every context-sensitive function that's available that's in this details panel. I want to change visibility. I say visibility, and I'm going to toggle it. I can set it so I can say be on, be off, right? Then here we have of the light, it's the light component. We'll get into the component second. And then I'm going to toggle it execution pin to execution pin, and then compile, and then I hit play, L. All right, so interactivity is super quick. If I'm not sure, if I can't see it, I can always print. It's spelled print correctly though. Print string by default will say hello. Play hello on top left. You can always make this node tell you you can change the color, the duration, all that stuff. All these features are here, right? So we're programming. I want to, uh, but I'm personally, I want to go into something and turn it off and on, right? Like all of games are kind of like, if you stand here, this door opens. If then, if then, if then, right? I want to find a box, a trigger box, and if I walk into this trigger box, I'm just going to go over to the settings, and you see right here, there's a reset. I can reset everything to 0. So now it's at the center. And maybe here's my player start. This is where my player starts off. If I hit play, I can't see that box. By default, it's supposed to be something that's functional, but not something that's aesthetic. I want this to be visible. Let's go ahead and say, it says hidden in game. I want it to be visible. Also, when I hit play, it's visible. Now, when I hit play, it's there. So this is helping to debug that I'm in there. Now, we had the idea of context sensitive. Also, if you're in VR, sometimes it's hard to see these things. You can actually have a thickness. You can make it a chunky boy, right? And so, and then you can also make it bigger. You don't want to go through the floor because then it'll be colliding with the floor. But I can say, oh, you get a wide berth, and then it does something. With the idea of context sensitive, and this thing in the center is called the widget. It gives you something to grab onto. So you're not trying to touch on lines. Something to grab onto, so you can move it around. I want to do something with this. Context sensitive, if I right click, it shows me all the things I can do with this box. And one of them is, again, what are these called? These are called events, the red ones. I want to create event for trigger box. When I begin overlapping it, when I go in, do something. When I leave, do something. For now, let's just go in. It's red. I can divide it by, I can say, only happen when certain actors go in, only, like I can make some more conditions. But for right now, if anything goes in, whether it's a stone that's falling around, whether it's me, I want you to, sorry, toggle visibility. Um, Again, the light's right here. The user experience would be that if you want to go into the box that's in front of the light, that way you can see the light. If you're on the light, then you can't see the lights turning off and on as well. So, boom, go into the box, light turns off and light turns on. Light goes off, light goes on, light goes off. You can now make 75% video games. Cool. What's more cool than things going off and on? Making a lot of things go off and on, but also colors. So I'm going to make it change into a random color. What is the setting over here on my light? Light color. I'm going to set light color. So grab a reference to light color. Set light color. There it is. You're just setting and getting things. Instead of talking the visibility now, I hit down Alt to get rid of the line. And then what's cool also is that if you hold down Control, you can say, no, not there. I want to go over here. And you can control it that way. And by default, it's going to make the light black. But what is the light color? A color is an RG and a B. I can actually split this up to be an RG and a B. So I can address just one color at a time. I can always recombine that and say make color. And then I have it as an asset that I can keep it separated out. And then I want to send it a random value. The numbers are between 1 and or 0 and 1. Nothing more fun than I want to get a random, or just say, yes, get random. Let's just do random. Random float and arrange. There you go. So I'm just typing in what I think it's going to be, and it presents itself to me. And that is between a 0 and 1. Duplicate has changed. It's Control D. It used to be Control W. Now Control W closes the entire fucking project. So every time I try to duplicate something, I close my project. I'm adapting. So duplicate and duplicate. We always want it to be visible, so we're going to keep 1 in the alpha. Combine. Cool. So now when I go through random colors, what's cooler than doing this for one color? Doing this for a shitload of colors. Do I want to make a bunch of copies of this box and make a bunch of copies of this light? No, that's not working smarter. That's working harder. I want to work smarter, not harder. I want to make my first blueprint. It's called Blueprint Class. Actor Blueprint, the most basic one. It's the one that can do anything. And my style guide is that it starts with BP, and then I call it whatever I want to, light. Now we have kind of a viewport and that graph combined together. Sometimes it's easier to make things happen where you can see it happening over here and things over here. So I'm going to take this blueprint that I'm just making that's empty, put it in. It has, again, this little widget for you to grab it onto and move it around. And then you can add in your components here. See, we have a whole component list here and your event graph here, and then your details over here. I want to do a box collision. There I can see it, right? I'm adding it in, and I can make it bigger, right? And make the line thickness bigger. And then I want to be able to see it, so I'm going to take off hidden when I hit play. And then maybe I don't want this one to actually be, I'm going to make it this size. And then I want the light to be always, add a light. And then if I go to my viewport, you'll see if I start editing things here, they're edited over in the real world too, right? So you can kind of build it in both places. I want my light to be in front of my box so I can see it. I'm turned around there. There you go. In the box, that's good enough for me for right now. And then when I want the interactions to happen now. So when I right click, I have the events that can happen when box. Again, it's a parenting system. They're all parented to a root. As long as I move the root around the parent together, I probably want to keep everything at the same hierarchical. So I'm just going to, the box and the light are both on the root, and they're attached to each other. It's the simplest way of doing things. And then my box, when I overlap, right? So again, you have event begin play. I have an overlap with the box. Again, a lot of other qualifiers. Anything that goes. We want the light right here. And then, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel, I've already done it once. Take my stuff, copy, and paste. This is just XML. It's just text. It says, that's too big. All right, well, it was text. How do you do code insert? I haven't done that in a while. Right here. Code block? Something like that. Code block. Send. No, it still says way too many. Well, I can email it to you. Or you can do it yourself. See, I have a whole demo set up, and Slack's what got me. Live demos, man. So connect all the pins. Point light is what we're targeting. light is what we're changing. And so if I go play, I can see my light changing color, right? But maybe it's like really light in there and I can't see it. You can always tell it, I want to, oh, this is hard to see. Let me do it this way. I want to make sure that I'm debugging one of the lights, and I'll put it to the side. And then now we can actually, like you would in like Max or Touch Designer, watch execute, right? So that's just a visual way of saying, oh, it's actually triggering it. Cool. And what's more fun than anything is that now we have an object, we have a class of lights. Now every one of these is an object of a class. I'm holding on Alt and it's duplicating. All right, so now we have a disco party. Cool. And then when I hit play, I have a bunch of these. And they're all going to be their own unique color. Great. So now you can see how we can make things. This can also be this can also have geometry, right? It can have um, a light. Let's put like a sphere underneath. And then what we'll see is uh, that they all have spheres underneath, right? That's how powerful this is. Um, we can also take the sphere and put everything on the sphere. All right, so the box is on the sphere. The light is above the sphere. And then the sphere is simulating physics. And now I can select all these suckers, raise them up, and when I hit play, they all fall down. And as I rotate them around, it's going to start changing colors as they hit the box. Right? So the idea is now you can start to see how these little tiny components can make your own games. You can you can see how they can hit things, they can knock things off, right? They can make these fun lights, these fun colors. But how do we do with VR? Um, in 8 minutes, I hope to show you. So we have VR set up. We have the Oculus connected. Let me go ahead and hit stop. In my slide note, I did say I was going to get back to it. I said here all you need to do to make a level VR is to make sure that you've added the VR game mode, and it'll automatically bring everything over. You can do it for the entire project. So that's edit project settings, and then I say maps and modes, and then I can change the game mode to VR game mode, and every map will be VR. Or if I just want this one map to be VR, I don't have that right now, but if I say window, world settings, I want to change this world, this one map, into being VR game mode. That loads in all these other things that make it VR-able. And then I need to make sure that VR preview is enabled. So to do that, this is where shit might not work and we might end up real quick. So I could see things. That's good. Let me close this, save it, and go to my Oculus. What does it say I need to do? Okay, I have controllers. I can see you all, by the way, just in case anyone's trying to like be rude right now. I have pass-through camera. Let's see. All right. So it says I want to enable the Quest link. That's fine. I can wake the controllers. It sees a controller. Don't tell me this is the part that's going to screw things up. Enable. So I want to make sure that I'm using the link. Sees you. It sees you. That's frustrating. Notifications. That expired. Maybe an issue with my link cable, so I will unplug and plug it right back in. Dismiss. Just now. Ah, it went away. Go back in here. Cool. I see. Wow, there's a whole menu in front of you guys. You're missing out. Um, what else did I teach you? Okay, so let's this would be a VR. Oh, I need a maybe it's gonna work if I just open up the map again. You have to have pay no attention to the stuff that's happening over there. You have to have Oculus ready, and then VR preview will be on grayed out. Um, I did test this before class, so it was working. Let's see. VR preview is not grayed, ungrayed out. Um, so the other thing to look at is if you go to VR template, there's a map in here that has all the a demo of all the wonderful things you can do. And we have documentation of that in the syllabus. All right, so this is uh, the VR template documentation, and it's things like, oh, you have built-in teleporting, and you can built-in grab things, and you can shoot guns, and all that kind of stuff. So essentially, the one thing I want to do is look at the when you want to be able to grab something, you take that, you can make it a blueprint. You don't have to make it a blueprint, but blueprint makes it easier. You add a component called grab. Once you add that, it can be grabbed. And it's about the collision. It's about the geometry. As long as you're overlapping the geometry and you hit the trigger button, you can grab something anywhere and then you can throw it. It has physics, right? There's different kinds of grabs. This one is free grab. So wherever you grab it will be where you hold it. The fun thing here is your haptic effect. You can load haptics. So does it vibrate when you pick it up? And then the other one is this gun or pistol, and its grab component is called snap. Oh, snap. And that is if you open up the mesh, you add something called a socket. This one socket's called grip point. And then wherever I have that grip point, instead of being free, it'll always snap to that one place. And so it fits perfectly in your hand. So you want to hold things in a certain space, you need to open up the mesh editor, add a socket, and wherever that socket goes. I think that to add a socket has to be a skeletal mesh. We'll have to see that in 1 second. But free grab is fine for right now. Grab things, throw them. You can hit a trigger box. The trigger box can make a light go, can make explosions happen. Just if you want an explosion to happen, you have to enable an explosion. Explosion, your blueprint. What does it do when it executes? You explode it. Let me try real quick to see if I can get this Oculus thing going one more time because it would be super fun. Power off. No, I had these in my room. It'd be weird if this was like the wrong uh ha- let's see, devices. All right, devices. I have left touch. This is off. Did I grab the wrong controllers from my room? Ah, okay. Who's close to my office? Anyone go to my desk real quick and grab the two controllers that are there? Anyone? Go to my office. These are the wrong controllers. Harsh was just saying one of the headsets doesn't have controllers. I have those controllers. My controllers are in my office still. You can't pair controllers that weren't bought with the headset. Doomed to fail from the beginning. I can't say yes. Otherwise, I have a video that I can record that'll fill in the blanks. There we go. There we go. 2 minutes left. Amazing. There you go. It's a team effort. See, never do VR by yourself. All right. Let's see what it looks like inside. Cancel. It's working. Enable quest link. Create new boundary. That's my floor. Confirm. Switch to stationary. Confirm. Give it a second. Oh, because I switched the batteries on these controllers. Which are the wrong controllers to change the batteries on? Okay. Shit show. Unreal Engine. Library. In class. If you guys don't mind me going over like 3 minutes, I got it. Come on. So if I want to work on my same map every time, go to project settings and just say maps and modes and say always open up on week 2 or always open up on VR template. And then when I restart, it'll always open up on that one and I don't have to worry about always finding the map. And then when I'm here, I should have VR preview is now enabled. I have, with my right hand, I am holding down the thumbstick. No, that's teleport. There we go. I can pick it up with my middle thing and you see it snaps. And then I can shoot things, right, that have physics. Right, because we turn physics on. Some things can be moved, some things can't. Drop, pick it up, and now I can throw it, right? Better for worse, I can throw it, right? So now I stop. I have that blueprint I made in the other level I was prototyping, assets, blueprints, BP light, all right? Some of them can be up in the air because they'll fall around. Some of them can be on the ground. So the idea is I've done these. You can find many of them. All right, so I have those. So that I'm teleporting, let go, and when I hit something, it changes the light. All right? So my own VR games. Try to find. Wow, I'm hitting my. Right, that's why you do boundaries, right? I can just shoot it because I'm lazy. There we go. All right. So we just made a video funhouse in just a few minutes. That's the kind of fun you can do. Anything in the details panel, just read it. You just might spend some time thinking about it. It's like, oh, I could change the color. I could change how bright. I could change all the stuff. This is the interactivity you have that's out of the box. Boom. That's 14 weeks of class. 15 minutes. You're getting bang for your buck. Boom. Questions. You'll figure it out. There's like tons of documentation. And if you're looking for a checkbox, ask me on Slack and I'll say, I'm not at my computer right now. I'll tell you in an hour. I'm at dinner. Don't you guys have respect my privacy? No. So there you go. Oh, the last bit is just to prove, because I have to prove things to you guys. This map was not a VR map. World settings, I changed to VR map. Now it brings the hands with it, and I have hands, right? So I'm VR in this map now, and I have one thing I can't do though is locomotion. And I knew that I wanted this for a reason. To make things move, you need to say show navigation, and by default you see there's nothing here. When you type in navigation, there's a thing called no nav a nav mesh bounds, and it says green. Green means I can go there, right? So you can put these on ledges, in tunnels or whatever. But the idea is that you can only go places inside of this and everything everywhere so you can build negative volumes, positive volumes, and then I can teleport everywhere that this is. So I hit play now. I started from a blank map. I can now teleport to these places. For some reason it's not showing my teleport location, but I promise you, I guarantee that's how it works. Let's move it back. Also, because I have set up for the ground floor, I'm gonna put this in the floor. There you go. There. So I'm now able to teleport to places within that navigation bound. So that's how you take a map that already exists, add VR pawn to it, add navigation to it, throw your own blueprints in there, and make a game. Not bad. All right, cool. Thanks, folks.